do I fix my like neck and back? Like, how do I fix that situation?
Okay, I thought a lot about it, and I think you said the highest impact movement. I don't really think there's a certain movement, but like a set of movements.
Okay.
For specifically strengthening core and posture. Pilates and yoga are really good. Just doing like a 10-minute video from YouTube of Pilates, like mat Pilates or mat yoga, is like, it's killer. If you can maintain your core strength and your posture and flexibility throughout life and not having to start at like 65, 70 years old, I think that's very beneficial for people.
I feel like you're speaking to not just me, but like I can think of 5 or 6 people listening to this podcast right now that probably just like sat straight up and like
Pilates, stuck in your butt. Gonna be a dad, son.
Hi, Katelin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It took us 45 minutes to get to this point.
Mm-hmm. That's what we do. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Katelin. I live next to Norm, a couple streets away, and I'm a physical therapist and an aspiring book talker. How's that?
She's being modest. She's being modest. She's a DPT. What is a DPT?
I'm a doctorate of physical therapy. I've been a PT for 4.5 years now.
What's the typical age range of like clients that you'll see?
I typically see a lot of older patients. So usually 60, 65 and older is usually what I see. We do get kids sometimes and teenagers a little bit, but I pass those off to someone else because that's not my thing. So we have another PT there who is more into sports and athletics and stuff. So shout out Adrienne, she gets to see the kids and I don't like to see the kids. I like to see the old people.
What's the most common injury you see of like that age range?
The older age range?
Yeah.
So
from like 50 to like 65.
The most common injury I feel like I see is shoulders, like rotator cuff tears. But the most common diagnosis I see is low back pain. I see so much low back pain, like all day, every day.
As I'm sitting here with like my shoulders rolled.
Yeah.
I'm sitting like a...
And that's why. Yeah, no, low back pain is what I see a lot as a diagnosis. But injuries is a lot of shoulders. I see.
Okay.
Like overuse injuries of shoulders.
That's not good. Where's that coming from?
I feel like a lot of it is coming from incorrect posture. A lot of times with incorrect scapular strength and posture, so you're putting a lot more strain on your like rotator cuffs, and just a lack of strengthening rotator cuffs. People just strengthen the bigger muscles and they forget about the little ones.
Yeah.
And they get overused.
I've been like, I don't know if I've talked to you about this recently, but I've been like very aware of my own mortality recently. I don't know why. Like, I don't know if as I'm approaching 30, I'm just...
God, 30's so old.
I don't even feel that
way. Life is over at 30.
I know. Like, I hate when people say stuff like that. Like, I genuinely hate when people are like, oh, I'm 32. Like, you know, whatever. But I think it has more to do with my transition from, like, active duty to the Guard. I was actually telling Jamie about this when... And I know, like, the guys listening to this will understand, like, that guys deploying and stuff like that. But when I would deploy, there was this, like, concept in my brain where I was like, oh, well, if this is it, like, if this is the last ride, like, then so be it. Like, I went out doing what I love with my friends, like, better me than them, like, kind of thing, right? And now, when I think about stuff like that, maybe it's because I have a different purpose in my life. Not to get, like, super deep or anything like that, but, like, now that I have, like, a significantly different purpose in life, that I, like, have personal goals I want to fulfill, rather than I feel like what the military does, where it's like, you're part of this unit, you're part of this team, we all have the same goal, that's to, like, protect and come home and all that other stuff. The point that I'm trying to get at is, now that that no longer exists, I'm, like, afraid of dying. And not even just afraid of dying, but I'm afraid of not doing the right things to live, like, a long and happy healthy life, if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
And now I'm thinking about, like, the shoulder and back thing. Where do you think that, like, comes from?
I think as you get older, you learn what's actually important. And I feel like you, having been in the military with all of your friends around you, you're like, we're all here, and, like, this is the most important thing we have right now, like, brotherhood and whatever. But then when you get older and your friends are getting out of the military and you're having families and, you know, you're separating yourself from your career being your main focus, and you have hobbies and people that you love and families and stuff that you're your inner circle, I feel like, is expanding outside of your job, right? So you start to realize how valuable those things are and like how much it would mean to lose them, you know?
That is a really good point.
Yeah, coming from a girl who has major anxiety, major health anxiety, and I've always had major health anxiety and like health anxiety about my family members, especially being in healthcare. I see all of the shit that can go wrong.
Yeah.
I see all of the stuff that people like pay the consequences for later on in life because I treat older people. So yeah, like every time Erin does something, I'm like, you know, I shouldn't do that. You know, I've seen what happens to me when people do that. You know, so yeah, I think you just like start seeing that other things are important and how valuable it is to lose them, right?
With the health anxiety thing, so you and I have talked about like you pretty aggressively, it sounds like, hit 10,000 steps like every single day.
8 to 10, yeah.
8 to 10?
Yeah.
To do something like that, I understand you have to like deliberately add like walking into your day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what does that look like for you?
So I pretty much, at the end of a work day, I usually work like 4 days a week, sometimes 5. This week is 6. It's been, but so usually at the end of a work day, I've got like 4,000 steps. So when I come home from work, I usually take a couple hours to just decompress and couch rot and let my brain rot for a little while. And then I get on the treadmill and then I walk. I have a walking pad and I have a little like phone stand in front of it. So while I'm on the walking pad, I can either like read a book on my phone or work on like content on my TikTok or whatever. So that's really how I get my steps in. So I just stand in front of my phone and walk for usually like an hour a day.
Yeah.
And then I usually do my regular like lifting like 3 days a week, and I end up all of it added together. It's usually 8 to 10,000.
I'll get home at the end of the day and I'm like, oh, 5,000 steps. But then I'll lift to like kind of to your point, but there's not a lot of walking after like my set of chest or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I'll get done doing that. I'll work out for like an hour, let's call it. And I'll look at it again and I'm like, 5,500 steps.
Right.
And I'm like,
all right, that's enough for today.
Yeah, exactly. Is that good enough? I know that's like not your specific like field, like as a DPT, but like, am I going to be okay? Like kind of thing?
No, you're going to die tomorrow.
Yeah, I know.
No, I feel like 8 to 10,000 steps is a really good goal. Like Aaron's goal on his watch, on his smartwatch, is 7,000 steps. And I'm like, that's not enough. You need to get more. You need to get 8 to 10,000. I feel like, I don't know where the metric came from of 8 to 10,000 steps, but I feel like it's a good goal to like try to reach to get more active and get more steps in. Like just at least have a goal. I mean, if your goal is 6,000 or 7,000 and you're meeting that too easily, to just bump it up to 8,000 or 9,000, you know, just something that's pushing you outside of your normal daily activity.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny that I'm like struggling to figure out how to walk more in my day.
No, I mean we don't live in walkable cities.
No.
Like we don't have jobs where I walk around a little bit at my job, but yeah, we don't have jobs where we're walking around very often and don't get to walk very often. We drive all the time, so it's hard to get steps in. So.
No, I totally understood. Common injuries in millennials.
Neck pain, I feel like, is the biggest diagnosis that I see. So I don't really see a lot of millennials, like I said, but when I see a millennial, which I guess like, what is a millennial now? Like 30 to 50? 30 to 45? Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do math off the top of my head like super quickly, but I think it's like
29.
1988 to like 96 or 97 or something like that.
I don't know what that means.
Excuse me, they were born in...
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I mean math-wise, I think it's 28, 29 through like 45 maybe.
Yeah, 29 to 44 is what Google quick search just said.
Look at me.
Yeah, that was good.
I really don't see people that age very often, but I feel like if I do see them, usually I see people like in the 40s range, and it's neck pain and it's poor posture. Yeah, it's a sedentary job where they're typing a lot.
Yeah.
So like poor scapular strength and everything just kind of like, you know, crunches down. And when you get something called upper cross syndrome. It's like an X.
Yeah.
So if that makes sense, like really tight and then weak and weak. So your back of your cervical extensors are tight, your chest is tight because everything is shortened, and your cervical flexors are weak and lengthened, and your like back muscles are lengthened and weak. So upper cross syndrome.
I feel like I have that exact thing.
So,
what's the fix to that?
Scapular strengthening.
Okay.
Strengthening your cervical flexors, stretching your cervical extensors, and stretching your chest. So where everything is tight on the X, you want to stretch it, nor everything is weak and lengthened, you want to strengthen it.
I've more recently seen chest door opening stretch. Okay.
I
Is
do that
that
a lot.
one?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do that a lot with people. That's a good place to start, is the like open door stretch or the corner stretch, just like opening your chest and strengthening your scapular stabilizers.
Okay.
So strengthening your mid back.
Just doing like a couple sets of that, like 3 or 4 times a your day, and just like moving up. Okay.
Especially if you're spending a lot of time like this on a keyboard, just taking the time to stretch back and doing some like scapular squeezes just to get your scapular muscles set and working and stretching out your chest.
Because even as I'm sitting here, like whenever I get a massage, I highly recommend it if you guys have the funds to do this, which most, if not all of you listening do, get a massage once a month. That is like the greatest thing that's ever like happened to my neck, back, lower back, just trap everything.
Yeah.
Especially if you do like combat sports or like hand contact sports and stuff like that. But anytime I go there, they're like, "Oh yeah, your right pec is like super tight, and my right shoulder, to your point, is like rolled forward to the point where even from like a muscle building like standpoint, my like left lat is like significantly larger than my right one, just because even when I do pull-ups, like my shoulder is pulled so far forward."
Yeah, just like not an optimal, which I would like to say I'm like new to the ortho world, like to the ortho PT world. Neuro is my specialty. So all of these questions, I'm like, I kind of know something about it because I went to PT school, but I'm really new to ortho. So I'm not the expert here.
What's the difference? Because I have no like understanding or concept of the difference.
So the ortho patients I see are in outpatient. So they're fairly healthy people. They walk into my clinic and they come into the gym and we do exercises for these diagnoses that we're talking about, like shoulders, like post-surgical, like orthopedic stuff, like back pain, neck pain. But for a long time, after I graduated PT school, I was working with more neuro patients in an inpatient setting. So I was seeing like patients who've had a stroke or brain injury, things like that, and that was in an inpatient setting where people come and stay there after they leave the hospital. They come stay there for 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Because they're not safe to go home for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So I have more of a neuro background, but I do know ortho stuff, sort of.
Yeah.
I'm learning the ortho stuff.
Is this something you chose, or like once you got done with school, you just like pick up a job and then you stay on one track, or like?
Well, no, you can change jobs and settings at any time. You can specialize. They have like fellowships and they have different like specialized certifications you could test for. I haven't gotten a specialization in anything yet or done a fellowship or anything. And I honestly never thought I would work in outpatient ortho. Like that was when I graduated, I was like, find me a job in anything but outpatient ortho. I will never work there. But I worked in inpatient for a long time and you just get like compassion fatigue, I feel like, from working with really sick people all the time, where you're just like, I am drained at the end of the day. I've seen too much sad stuff all day, so I had to find something a little lighter.
Yeah. Why is there stigma around non-doctors calling non-PhD doctors doctors? Does that make sense?
So I can answer from my standpoint,
yes.
I guess, from a physical therapy, like healthcare kind of standpoint. Like the doctors are the physicians, and I guess the way they explained it in our program was they don't want to confuse patients by making this seem too doctorly, like there's too many doctors talking at the patient. But like some programs kind of lean into it more and they wear like the white coats and they have a white coat ceremony, and some programs lean into more like the physical therapists are more like approachable rather than being like, I'm a doctor, I'm in a white coat, you know?
Yeah.
So it's more of like an approachability thing. But I was talking to a coworker about this the other day, about calling ourselves doctors, because her program had a white coat ceremony, and she has a white coat in her closet, and my program's not. So I was more of the approach of like, I'm just a PT, I'm just here to help you. And she's more of the approach of like, we earned a doctorate. We went to school for 7 years to earn a doctorate. Like, we should call ourselves doctors so patients believe us when we tell them to do things. You know, it comes with like a little bit more authority. A lot of people, when I see them either in the hospital or in the clinic, they're like, so did you get a degree to do this? You know, so what is it to be a PT? Is it like a certificate, you know? And I'm like, yeah, it is. It's a degree.
How do I fix my like neck and back? Like, how do I fix that situation?
Okay. I thought a lot about it, and I think you said the highest impact movement. I don't really think there's a certain movement, but like a set of movements
Okay.
for specifically strengthening core and posture. Okay, so Pilates and yoga are really good.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. Not even like doing a full 2 hour class or something, or 1 hour, whatever they are. Not going to like a Pilates class and getting on the torture machine, reformers that they have. I don't know if you've ever seen a Pilates reformer.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. But like just doing like a 10-minute video from YouTube of Pilates, like mat Pilates or mat yoga is like, it's killer. It's killer for your core and like stabilization muscles. Like you have little muscles that you don't even think. Like things that you're like with lifting, just like standard straight lifting weights, you're not going to use these little dynamic muscles.
Absolutely.
For stabilizing. So yoga and Pilates are really good. Core strengthening. You would not believe older people forget how to like turn on their core muscles. It's crazy. So they're just like hanging out in this very like lumbar extension position, and it's putting a lot of strain on their lumbar, on their low back, on their lumbar vertebrae, and all of the little surrounding muscles in their lumbar spine. And their core is just like fully hanging out. Like it's not activated at all. And they don't even remember how to activate it.
Yeah.
I'm like, squeeze in your abdominals, and they like suck in their vet. I'm like, that is not what I need. Like we have to do a whole lot of retraining for posture and core activation. So if you can maintain your core strength and your posture and flexibility throughout life and not having to start at like 65, 70 years old, I think that's very beneficial for people.
Yeah.
Instead of having to relearn how to use your body again. So
I feel like you're speaking to not just me, but like I can think of 5 or 6 people listening to this podcast right now that probably just like sat straight up and like
Pilates, suck in your butt. Gonna be a dad, son.
Okay, so doing yoga and Pilates 1 time a week, 2 times a week, just like getting started.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, not even like you don't even have to do like a full like set, like I said, of Pilates, but just doing like Pilates concepts and like yoga concepts of strengthening your core in like dynamic ways. So I always like look up some YouTube videos. Yoga with Adrian is a really good one.
I was just thinking
yoga
that.
with Adrian.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's another one. I think it's like Pilates or Move with Nicole or something like that. Is a Pilates. She has tons of Pilates. If I could be like totally wrong about the name of that one, but I do her Pilates things sometimes, and they're like 5, 10, 30-minute, 40-minute, like different, however long you want to do them. But even just after you like do it for a little while,
Mm-hmm.
and you learn like the principles and like things to just incorporate into your warm up or your cool down from lifting, I find that I do a lot of like core strengthening and like hip abduction strengthening before I do a leg day, is really beneficial for me. So
is abduction
leg
in?
No, out.
Or out.
Abduction is out. You're abducting your legs.
Got it.
They're being abducted. But yeah, like glute med, like the smaller glute muscles that do hip abduction, like getting those turned on and activated, and your core activated before doing like lifts.
Okay.
Is really important.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I've always had like weak glutes that, to your point, has like just rippled into like poor core, just like all that general area, like kind of thing. And now my hips are like creaking when I do jujitsu, and it's just exceptionally difficult.
Yeah.
Sweet. So in neuro.
Begin.
Yes. In neuro, what's the most rewarding part of your job?
I love working with stroke patients. And like I was just telling Lauren off camera that I have a neurodevelopmental treatment specialization. So it's a way to treat like the weaker side of people's, like after they have a stroke, like it's a way to bring like attention back to the weaker side. Because after you have a stroke, like a lot of times people can't even feel like one side of their body, so it doesn't even feel like it's there. And there's a lot of different like really cool ways to like bring attention back to that side of your body and like get you back like moving optimally and productive. Okay. Anyways, so sorry, the martinis are ready.
Yes. Yeah, we're also.
The martinis are ready. I'm about to start getting really worried. Yeah, but no, it's really rewarding to see people who they come into the hospital and they've had this life-changing event. Like they've had a major stroke and they were a very active, like older person before. And now they can't feel half their body. And every time they stand up, they fall over. So they think like, I'm never going to be able to walk again. I'm never going to have my life back. My life is over. I'm never going to be able to do my hobbies again. You know, whatever, like different, like you go through a lot of emotions, especially I had a patient who had a stroke and he was in his 50s. He was young. He was working on like remodeling his house. He's like, you know, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
You know, I'm young. Only half of my life is over. Showing them that you can get stuff back. You can get a lot of return. And even if you don't get full return, like there are ways to modify and to like get your life back, even if it looks a little bit different. So that's really, really rewarding. Because people literally will come in there and they're like crying. They're like, my life is over. I can't believe this happened to me. And you're like, just take a beat. Like, it's going to be okay. And like, I'll show you how. So that's really, really fun, really rewarding. And it's also absolutely the most draining thing in your entire life. Like,
oh, really?
It's so draining. Like I was talking about compassion fatigue.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing people, and this is where my health anxiety comes from. It's like you're seeing people going through the worst thing in their entire life and you're seeing it 8 hours every single day. And you're like, by the end of the day, you're like, I have nothing left to give to my friends and my family and myself because I've given it all to my patients. So that was not sustainable full time, but it was really fun. Well, it was really high highs and really low lows. So
how long did you do that for?
I did that. I just quit that job like 2 weeks ago, actually. I did it full time for probably 3 full years. And then I had to cut back and I started doing outpatient ortho and just doing the inpatient neuro stuff, like PRN. So I would do it like 2 or 3 times a month and I would just get to step in. And I really enjoyed that because I was like giving my expertise to them and then I would get to step away. And I'm like, I'm never going to see you again. You know, I get to pop into their life and give them a little piece of knowledge and then I'm gone, I'm done. Like I see them one time and I'm done. So that was a really easy way to like still contribute, but like separate myself emotionally from it. So, but I should quit that job because the management sucks and it's corporate money grubbing healthcare. So I can't ethically work for them anymore.
Was that the one in with your friend? Yeah. Well, we don't even have to like get into
They
all
fired my friend, so I quit. Corporate healthcare sucks. And especially for a very private company, like I won't say the name. I keep wanting to say the name. But they have, it's all about the money that they can make. And like, so I guess like the situation with my friend was she has been working there since they opened this location in Pensacola. She was hired before they opened and she was like one of the team that like helped build this location, this hospital. And she's worked there for 4 years, never been in trouble, never had any kind of like verbal warnings, like written warning, never been in trouble at all. And I guess, I don't know where the complaint came from, but they found out that she had not been seeing a patient for a full 60 minutes. So the setup with this hospital is you see patients 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and then they start in the afternoon again. So you're seeing patients 5 hours straight. And their expectation, apparently, is that you just see a patient for 60 full minutes and you just magically appear in the next patient's room without having to, like, go to the bathroom, like, talk to other staff members or whatever. So they watched her entire day on camera, and they're like, you entered this room 5 minutes after the hour, and you left it 6 minutes before the hour was up. Like, how do you count that as a 60-minute treatment session? And they were calling it fraudulent documentation, which if anyone works in healthcare, you can't see 5 hours straight of patients without having to go to the bathroom or without having to talk to a nurse or without having to take 5 seconds to just breathe and have a sip of water. Okay. So their expectations are like 110% productivity basically, because you're supposed to be seeing 1 hour a day, 2 patients in 1 hour. And these are sick people. They're very sick people. You can't get them both out of their room and down to the gym and count the whole session as treatment. Like, it's just unrealistic expectations by corporate money grubbing healthcare who does not value their employees, and they value money more than the employees. So screw you guys.
Been doing the work-life balance, like sub series or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And that is a whole spectrum in of itself. I'm sure you're aware of. One of the things that I have not been able to touch yet is like your boss, basically. Mm-hmm. So there's a whole bunch of pillars, as I discussed like in the episode in part 1 or whatever. And thank you too for that comment that you said that. Yes. Yeah. So in part 1, I basically said like, hey, these are the things you can control. Mm-hmm. The other side of that, which I haven't even touched on yet, is like the external factors, which is your workplace environment. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I don't know if you guys knew this, but if you don't, like that is where a majority of people like are suffering from work-life balance is mm-hmm. the external factors, mm-hmm. right? And so to your example, it's like, I care a lot about this. I went to school for this thing, mm-hmm. and now like my company kind of sucks. Like, how do you navigate that?
Personally, yeah. So I worked there full time until I realized that I was so unhappy that I was like, if I get in a wreck on the way to work, at least I don't have to go to work for the day, you know? And that's literally something that I was thinking off of work. And I was like, this is a dangerous mental space to be in. And so I realized that I could not work there anymore. And I started looking, I literally was like taking bathroom breaks where I was on scrolling Indeed on my phone to find another job at my current job. I was like, I cannot work for this place anymore because it is bringing me down. So I just made it work. I found a part-time job and I kept that on as PRN so that I was pretty much making up my salary that I was making as a full-time staff member. So that was just, how I did it. I just had to remove myself from that situation.
I didn't know that. So I knew you had the part-time job, but I didn't realize it was primarily because the initial job sucked so much.
Yeah. Yeah. So that job, it just, like I said, it got to be draining, like so mentally draining, that I had like literally nothing left to give on the weekend. Like I didn't want to be around people at all afterwards. Which I already don't want to be around people. So it was like extreme. I was like, leave me in a deep dark hole. Yeah, I quit that job probably a year and a half ago. I quit doing it full time. I was like, I have got to step back, or if I was like honestly thinking like, if this is what physical therapy is, then I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. Like if this is what I went to school for, then I literally just need to peace out and go find something else to do. So then I got the part-time job in the outpatient setting. It's 3 days a week. And then I was able to do the other one just to make up the difference, like in the full-time salary. So, yeah, and it was a lot easier. And I honestly, like, I prefer doing something different every day. I think that was one thing that was driving me nuts about that full-time job was like going to the same place, doing the same thing, seeing the same patients every single day. Like, I want to bang my head against the wall. Like, now I do a totally different job every single day, and I love that. I can't do the same day over and over again. Like makes me go insane.
Yeah, you need some variety.
Absolutely.
And for context too, can you explain like for the audience to just like wrap their heads around too of like what it was like trying to get to work every day? Like I know that you had to drive like super far, but for the context of like also, hey, I quit my job for this as well. Like, can you kind of explain your location?
Right. So the full-time job that I was working was in Pensacola, which is an hour from where I live. It's a pretty long drive. So it was an hour there and an hour back, which after working 8 hours and then an hour there, it becomes a very, very long day. Yeah. You know, and sometimes on the way home, it's like an hour 15 because of traffic. So it was just all around draining. It was not in a great location. Like if it was right next door or something, I might have, considered. But there were so many factors that this is just becoming too many cons and not enough pros that got kicked to the curb. So, new job, who dis?
So, when we're talking about like those factors to a healthy and productive like work-life like balance, we talked about the 8,000 steps, the 10,000 steps, and stuff like that. Like, how important, at least to you, is your physical health when it comes to working in an environment like that?
I think it's super important. Like not just to me, but especially to like an aging population. I think having regular exercise and physical activity already like built into your routine, like for me, like getting older, because I'm 30 now. Oh, I'm old. Like as I get older, I want to maintain my fitness level instead of like seeing it decline every year, And I think having that like serotonin boost, all of the like happy chemicals and stuff from working out. I think that helps with your mental state a lot. And then just feeling good, going to work every day, physically feel good. I have to like do a lot of physical things with my job, like, especially in a full-time job. I was working in the hospital. I have to like lift patients and stuff. And I would have like coworkers that would get injured, like hurt their back, hurt their shoulders. So I think it's really important, especially for me, to like be able to stay in shape. And now in my outpatient, I do a lot of like manual therapy, and I'll end up like, if I'm not like watching my posture, like I'm doing a lot, like I'm working on someone's neck and I'm like bent over. I'm like, hold up, supposed to work on my neck, So I have to watch myself a lot at my job too.
Let's get an update. What's next for like you and Aaron?
Well, like I said, I just quit my job, my PRN job. I still have my part-time job in the outpatient clinic. I'm starting a new PRN job. We just talked about this. This is for the people out there starting a new job. It's going to be in like balance and vestibular in an outpatient clinic. So sort of balance of that like neuro and also being in an outpatient setting where I can go home and leave it there, So new job who dis, starting in July, and doing the content creation thing, doing some TikTok.
Yeah, talk to me about TikTok, because I know nothing about TikTok, but James got TikTok, JoJo's got TikTok. You obviously have TikTok, but that's the only like thing that I know about it.
Yeah, so I started the TikTok in February. I was kind of posting on my like personal TikTok a little bit, but I was just like, I don't have a direction here. Like, I don't have a niche. Like, videos were doing okay, but it wasn't like gaining a lot of followers. So I was like, I need to like niche down like what's something that I'm interested in, and I like reading. You can see my shirt. I don't know if it's backwards or not. It says, I read past my bedtime, because I do.
Hey friends, if you're finding value in these conversations, it would mean a great deal to me if you would share the episodes with your friends. Word of mouth is how this show grows. It's how we reach more people with stories like these, and it's how we build this community of people preparing for their finest hour. Every share and every additional listener allows me to put more resources back into making this show even better for you. If you would do that for me, I promise to work intently to ensure this becomes a show you genuinely look forward to, rather than just another podcast in your feed. If you need something to share, you can head to yfhpodcast.com. There it should have everything you need. Thank you, and let's get back to the show.
So I love reading. I've always loved reading since high school. So I was like, there's a market for this. There's book talk, it's a pretty big community. So I was like, I can just join this. So I started posting on like a separate book talk account, and I gained a lot of followers pretty quickly, because right when I started the account, me and Aaron went to Ireland, and I was like, this is selling content. It was great. So I gained like quite a bit of following in the beginning. Like I was posting like book shopping in Ireland, going to libraries and stuff, like just go to different bookstores, and it was in Ireland. I mean, it was gorgeous. So I gained a lot of followers in the first month, like I think 2,000 followers in the first month. And then from there, I just kind of started doing stuff. Obviously, I was back at home, so I was just posting out what I was reading, like posting reviews, doing like trending audios and stuff, just to like get more traction and draw people in, like these flies in your house. And I was gaining like 2,000 followers a month for the first 2 months. I think in 2 months I got to like 4,000 followers. I think in the past 2 months I've gained like 1,000 followers a month.
Really?
So slower, a little bit of a slower than the 2,000 followers a month that I was gaining. A little slower progress.
1,000 a month is a shit ton, is it not?
I think it is.
Okay.
I think it is, but I had like a lot faster progress in the beginning.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I'm not really sure why. Just kind of finding what videos like work best for me, like if it's the longer form book reviews or trendier audios, or like doing like what I'm reading today kind of videos, that kind of thing. So just a mix of all of them, I think, is what's working for me.
Top 3 books?
Oh man.
Yes.
Top 3 fiction books?
Yes.
Ooh.
Top 3 in the last year, because you read, how many books do you read a year?
My goal this year is, I think it was like 45 books this year, but I'm already more than halfway. So I'm averaging like 8 books a month, I think. So so we're gonna be more.
Is that because of the book talk, or were you always?
It's definitely.
Okay.
Book talk.
Okay.
Yes, it's absolutely for book talk.
Because now you have to.
Well, I have to. I feel like I have to read more to create content, And I feel like I have to like talk about the books, the popular books that are coming out of Book Talk. They're being released and everyone's reading them, everyone's talking about them. Like I feel like I'm getting like FOMO to have to read them and I have to like weigh in on my opinion on them. So I'm reading a lot more because of Book Talk. And they're just telling me about so many great books that sound so great that I want to read them for myself. Top 3 fiction books. Hey, look at my Goodreads. Actually, okay. So I read this series. I just finished this series. I don't know if she's into like romantasy, like fantasy books, or more just like romantic. Okay, fantasy. Yeah. Well, I just finished this series, and it's not romantasy. It's not fantasy at all. It's a cowboy romance series. Okay, and it's called the Rebel Blue Ranch series, and it is so good. Like it sounds silly. I thought it was just going to be like fun little silly cowboy book, but it's just like this family that owns a ranch, and they're like chosen family that they keep around them, and like all of them like falling in love with other people and whatever. And it's like each book is a different person in the family's like story of them finding love and whatever, and family and their found family and whatever, and like finding a place that they belong in this town, small town. So it's good. You should check it out, Jordan. It's Lila Sage, the Rebel Blue Ranch series. Shout out to Lila. I finished the 4th book last night. It's the last one in the series, and I was like sobbing. It's like I never get to go back to the Rebel Blue Ranch again. Yeah, I can't even think of other books right now. It's like the only book on my mind.
Yeah, we can come back to it. I used to, in the first few episodes, I used to ask people at the end of the episode, like, what's on your mind or whatever. And then after like 3 episodes, I was like, oh, people who are getting interviewed have listened to the other episodes. So like they weren't caught off guard by that.
Right.
And so now this just might be what I do where I'm like, let me ask a question that's associated with the person that I'm interviewing. Like they may not know is coming up. So it's a good shout out to Jordan. I will be back for book 2 and book 3 of your top.
Can I look at my Goodreads?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can come up with an answer if I look at Goodreads.
Okay. With that being said, I know that with you being as introverted as you are, like that is your reading books is like your reset like time or whatever. And we'll go back to your book talk here in a sec. But a genuine question that I want to know is like, for a lot of people listening to the podcast, all they know is like full throttle and like work, and that has just become who they are to an extent, like as far as their identity goes. And then earlier in the episode, we talked about how you were able to like see the situation that you were in and be like, this is suboptimal. Like even with the hour-long drive where I can like listen to a book or like do whatever you were doing, you were able to then go home and to an extent reset enough that allowed you to wake up and go back to work the next day. Like what did your process look like to find what fulfilled you most, if that question makes sense?
When I was doing that job that I didn't like?
Yeah.
I think that's why I quit the job, is I didn't have enough time to reset.
Okay.
So it was draining so much, and I didn't have enough time. Like the hourglass was running out, but there was not enough time for it to come back to fully reset before it was flipping over again.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So I was not able to like fully refill my cup before I had to go back the next day, which I feel like working this job as PRN rather than full time, I'm able to like separate myself from it and like completely fully reset before I have to go back. Does that make sense?
No, that makes complete sense. I was more so looking at it from like, you worked there for 3 years. Like, I'm sure in the first year, you're like, damn, this ain't it. And then the second year, you were like, this for sure ain't it. But even knowing that, you were able to like come home and be like, okay, today was a shit day. Like, I'm going to read my book and like, that'll at least fill my battery. Let's say you were at 80 or 100% when you started and then it went down to 80. You were at least able to go from like 80 to 90. And then that was more of a slow depletion where I've also seen the other side of that where some people are like, within 2 weeks, they're like, holy shit, I'm burnt out. Like, this is crazy, like kind of thing. So. Yeah.
Well, so halfway in there, I transferred. It was the same job, but I transferred from Montgomery to Pensacola. So it was like 1 year was in Montgomery, and then the second year was in Pensacola. And I was living in Pensacola. So I feel like I wasn't fully depleted until I was living in Navarre and driving to Pensacola every day. And that was like, I think I made it like 6 months when I was doing that. And I was like, I do not have time to like fully reset. I was like falling asleep on the drive home every day. It was just, I was fully exhausted.
I mean, that's literally 2 hours of your day just like driving.
Yeah, for real. But when I was the 2 years before, when I wasn't like fully depleted and I was like going back to do work every day, I just had to realize that when I get home from work, even if I have an hour drive, even if I have a 45-minute drive, I'm still like on, because I'm still watching a road. I'm still driving. Like it still takes like mental processing. Okay, hopefully. And unless I'm falling asleep on the drive, then it's no mental processing. But I know that when I walked in the door, I have to couch rot for a little while. Like I have to just lay on my back and look at the ceiling and just like zone out. Like I have to think nothing. Like we're not processing the day. We're not doing anything. We're like turning the TV on. Just like I used to watch the show Catfish.
Yes.
Every single day.
I love Catfish. I love Catfish so much.
It doesn't matter if I've seen the episode before. I'm gonna watch it again because it's on MTV and it's going on the TV. And I would like literally like put my phone away. I'm gonna couch rot and I'm probably gonna fall asleep watching Catfish for like 2 hours. Especially when I lived in Montgomery, I lived in an apartment building that had a gym in the building. So I would like get home and couch rot for 2 hours. And then by that point, it's like 6:30, 7 p.m. And I would like take my pre-workout and go downstairs, work out for an hour, come back upstairs, get ready for bed, and then just like rot in the bed for a little while. And that was like fulfilling to me. Is that like I'm not thinking about anything when I get home. I'm just like, I have to have that time where I'm literally not thinking about anything. Like I'm not thinking about what I have to do, not doing anything productive. I'm just being a potato.
Yeah.
For 2 hours. And I know I need that. I need that for myself every day. I still do that. Every day when I get home from work, I have to have couch time. Yeah. Even if it sets me back a little bit on like doing my afternoon routine of like working out and stuff, I have to do it or it's not going to go well.
In a previous episode, I was talking to Rachel. She was talking about how one, therapists probably need therapy themselves. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just like, okay, perfect. Yeah. I'm like thinking of that within this context. But then she also said, if you remember, she was like, oh yeah, at the end of my day, like I think about this all the time. She's like, I have to just be horizontal.
Yeah, literally. Yes. It's I feel like, and I'm not that kind of therapist, but I feel like, like the stereotype of like the patient laying down on the couch. It's like you need to swap places at the end of the day. You're like, I'm on the couch now, bitch. So yeah, I definitely have to be horizontal at the end of the day for a little while. Yeah, just resets.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's my charging station is the couch.
That's so funny. How do you feel then about consuming versus creating? And what I mean by that is like, it sounds like a lot of your hobbies you are consuming to create, especially with your book stuff.
Right.
And that could be very fulfilling for you, where oftentimes I see people are consuming and just consuming and they think it's fulfilling and recharging their batteries, but it's actually not. When I was doing some research into like the work-life balance stuff, I wrote an article forever ago that was talking about pushes up classes. I wrote an article forever ago that was talking about like hobbies. And if you see on this whiteboard, actually, it's perfect for you to see this. If you have not seen this before, those are like the 8 things that I was like, if my podcast talks about anything, it's those 8 things. Right?
Okay.
And so I guess for the audience, I can read this out loud. In no specific order, it says identity, focus, relationships, humor, resilience, leadership, hobbies, decision-making at 8. Hobbies. Yeah. So I have a wide range of just ridiculous hobbies that I feel like those are like the 8 things that I'm like, if I can live a fulfilling life, it has to do with those 8 things, right? Now, my hobbies with jujitsu fill my relationships cup, right? Obviously, like having a girlfriend, having friends, all other stuff, cross flows. But where I'm going with all that is I found when writing that article, there are certain hobbies that people perceive fill their cup and it actually depletes them even further. And one of those is like scrolling and Netflix.
At the same time?
Yes. And then doing nothing else with that. Yeah. So like if you watch Netflix, but have a relationship where you like talk about a show with your friends and that's like a weekly thing that you do, then that gives purpose to the Netflix rather than just like watching it and then just being done with it, like kind of thing. And so where have you seen yourself specifically finding a hobby and then it not really recharging you as much as you thought it would, but it took you a while for you to notice that.
Okay. So I will say doing the like book talk stuff, that was
Books at book talk, yes.
yeah. I mean, I do
Yeah.
Booksta as well. I have the Instagram as well. It's just not my main focus, and it's not growing as fast because I'm just
It's Instagram, yeah.
it's whatever. I feel like I can't be like authentically myself on Bookstagram for a multitude of reasons that I won't get into here. But I feel like with Book Talk, like it started out, I wanted to just talk about books and like make it like create a community and like have people to talk about books with. And then it started becoming like a pressure to post multiple times a day and like to come up with content and coming home from work and then coming up with content. And it started getting to where it was draining me a little bit. About like the halfway mark, I was like, this is becoming less fun than it was. Like every time I'm scrolling on TikTok, I'm just scrolling to get content ideas, you know? So I had to start like stepping back a little bit. I batch create content a little bit. That doesn't really work for me. I'm a mood reader and I'm also like a mood content creator. Like I create in the moment that I'm like, that it's happening. Like if I want to talk about this book, I'm going to talk about it now. But some people like create like a few videos at a time to post throughout the week because they work. And that sometimes works for me, like with simple, trendy little videos. But I just started realizing that it's not that important to post all the time. You know, like people are still there and I'm still getting views and I'm still getting followers if I'm posting less. And I'm like, when I'm posting less, I feel like I'm more into what I'm posting rather than just posting to get it out.
Yes,
you know,
yeah.
and like you can see in my face that I'm like, I liked this book. I'm so freaking tired from work. I don't want to be doing this. You know, like it's not like as interesting and entertaining, whatever, is when I want to be there. So if I'm creating content, but I don't authentically want to be creating the content, you can tell, and it's not going to do as well. And you're going to be drained by something that was supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
So when I started creating less content, but like putting more like time and effort into it. And I do now, I'll switch back to my personal account a lot and just like scroll for fun sometimes. Just like I'm scrolling just to see what the funny videos are going on. Like it's nothing to do with book talk or nothing to do with books at all anymore. We're just scrolling just for like a few minutes to turn my brain off and just like have some fun, you know? Creating the content was supposed to be fun and it was supposed to be a community, but then it became more like work and it became more draining. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah.
It's the hobby of like creating. Like I enjoy creating and like editing the videos and like making. I do like some like aesthetic videos of like making coffee and like book aesthetics and stuff. So that's really fun. Just like having a little creative outlet and then a community that like I can talk about it with. I'm in a couple little groups with like other TikTok creators and we like talk about books and stuff on TikTok together and like do like buddy reads of different books at the same time. So.
I personally had this conversation with Brandon a few times, and I think it comes from my relationship with Hope, if you remember her and that. Okay, I didn't think so. Hope was someone, for better or for worse, she was someone who had like a crazy like set of boundaries. Mm-hmm. She would straight up tell people like no, like to their face. If people were like, hey, you want to hang out this weekend? She would just be like, no. And it would catch people off guard.
Yeah.
But then when I asked her about it, I was like, hey, like, that's rude. Mm-hmm. And she's like, no, what's rude is telling them yes, knowing that I don't want to, and then allowing them to like set expectations around this event that I know I'm not going to show up at. And I don't know what it was. She had to tell me that once, and that like completely changed my life for the rest of like forever.
And now you're like that.
Yes, exactly. As you know me.
Yes.
Where if someone asked me to do or not do something, if someone asked me like, hey, do you want to go out to Pensacola and like get wasted? I'm like, no, thank you. Like that's what that looks like in my life. Yeah. But for you, I have personally seen you set up boundaries, but in a different context. Mm-hmm. And so one, I'm very curious on like where that came from. And then two, like what that looks like in your life within your own context.
Yeah. So growing up, I feel like I was more of like an observer. Like as a kid, I really would hate it when people would call me quiet and shy because they would always say it like an insult. You know, like they would always go, you're so shy. You're so quiet. And like it would really piss me off. Mm-hmm. So I really hate when people say that, especially as an adult. I'm like, I'm not a child. I'm not shy. Okay. But my mom is very loud and extroverted. You've met my mom. Yeah, she will literally talk to that fly that's on the wall back there. My mom is very extroverted. My best friend, who I met when I was in 5th grade, is very extroverted and very outgoing. My husband is very extroverted and literally like will walk in a room and acts like he belongs there, even if it's a room full of flies. You know, like he's all the flies. He's the king of the flies. Okay.
Lord of the Flies.
Literally. So it's been very easy in my life to just defer to them to answer questions for me and defer to them to stand up for me. Like my mom, especially, like as a kid, like I was quiet because my mom would just always talk for me. I'm an only child, not who do I have to talk to. And my best friend then took over the role. Like when we're at school, she's always standing up for me. She's always talking for me. She's creating boundaries for me. And then even now, it's easy for me to just let Aaron, my husband, to just like do the things that I don't want to do, you know, like say the things that I don't want to say, like talk to the people I don't want to talk to. But I feel like it changed for me when I started working. When I graduated from PT school and I started working as a PT, no one was there to stand up for me except for me. And I learned very quickly that in a hospital setting, you really have to learn to have boundaries and you have to learn to stand up for yourself, because not only is your administration going to take advantage of you every chance that they can get, but patients and their families will absolutely take advantage of you. Like they'll take advantage of your kindness. And especially with therapists, like we have a very, very strict schedule, and like we want to be kind and we want to be helpful. And people in the hospital are at their most vulnerable. And, you know, like scared drowning people will drag you down trying to save themselves, right? So scared, vulnerable people in the hospital will drag you down with like requests, you know, like they're just like, they need help. They need someone to help them. And like, we're there and we're kind and like, but we've got to take care of ourselves and we have to take care of our time and our schedule, because if we get off schedule, the whole rest of our day is off. Like, I don't have time for that. For example, I had a patient who asked me to watch their cat while they were in the hospital. And I literally babysat their 14-year-old cat.
What?
It was a very nasty old little cat. Okay. And I watched her cat because I didn't want to say no. And like these people, like they're in a very vulnerable state and they'll ask you to do anything for them. Okay. Like you have to learn to have boundaries with them. And like, you have to learn to be kind with your boundaries, especially in like a professional setting. But I feel like that carried over to my personal life of like, I'm able to stand up for myself in my work setting. And I'm also talking to people all freaking day, you know, so I'm just like used to talking to people all the time now.
What does being kind with your boundaries look like for you?
In a professional setting, being kind to them, but being firm. Like I really, you know, wish I could help you with that. It's something that I know it's something that you need, but I'm not able to help you with it. You know, like being kind and being helpful for them as much as you possibly can. Like I know that it would be easier and quicker for me to just do a full bed change for you right now because I'm right here, but it would put me behind on my entire day, and it's also not my job, and I'm so sorry. And I know that the nurses are more intimidating than I am, and they're scary, and they scare you to ask them for things to help, but I can't do it. You know, I cannot. I know that I'm more approachable, and it's easy to ask me for things, but I cannot. That's not my job, you know? So just being very firm with them and reminding them they're, like, I may be very approachable, and we may have, like, a connection and a bond or whatever, like, professionally, but I am still a professional, and I still work here, and you're not friends. A lot of times we spend so much time with patients, they feel like we're friends. I'm like, you are my patient, and I'm your PT, and I can't, like, you have to remember that I have a job to do, and I do work here. Like, some patients would be like, I forget, because I told this one lady I was going to be off the next day, and she was like, I forget that you don't just, like, exist here at the hospital. You, like, have a life outside of the hospital, and you're off work. This is your job. It's like, yeah, I'm a human being. I don't just exist here in the hospital. You know?
It's like teachers when we were kids.
Exactly. Yeah, like they have a life outside of their job, and so do I. In the personal setting, I feel like I've just learned that, especially, like I said, working and being very tired, I have learned that my time is very valuable. And like the people that I spend my time with is very valuable to me. And I like to keep a very small inner circle,
Mhm.
small circle of people that I give my time to. So I'm very selective about the people that I give my time to. Being a Virgo that I am, which I don't know exactly how much weight you put on like horoscope, star signs, whatever. But I do feel very aligned with like Virgo characteristics. Like I'm very like if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And if you say that you're going to, if you say things to me, I expect you to keep up your word, right? So people who I do not have time for people who say and behave like they want to be an inner circle friend, like an inner circle best friend, but their actions don't align with that, right? So they're saying they want to be part of the inner circle, but then they never show up, or they, whatever. So I just don't. I can identify that pretty quickly, and we don't have time for that shit anymore. I'm 30 years old. Like we're only the people who come into the next decade are only the people that are gonna be around.
Yeah.
Right. So 20s we're just like having fun with lots of acquaintances, but like this is when like this shit gets real. Like when you start having families and your time becomes more valuable, right? So I just see it as like respecting myself. Like having boundaries is respecting myself and just like caring for myself. The best advice I ever gave in that situation is instead of your gut reaction being to say yes, and you have to be aware, like this is something you probably have to like, if you're that deep in people pleasing, this is something you have to like meditate on every morning before you leave for the day, like journaling, okay, in a journal or something. It's like, I will not people please today, like if your gut reaction is to say yes to everything that's requested of you, to like be aware of that. It's kind of like with the posture thing, where like you start noticing your posture. It's sort of like you start noticing your people pleasing, and you step back and you're like, let me think about it. Instead of just saying yes automatically, just giving yourself time. If you can't make the decision in the moment, if there's like, and I get this a lot because I have social anxiety big time, especially when there's like more than one person talking to me at a time, like you're like looking at me. If your gut reaction when you're nervous is just to say yes because you black out and you can't like think of a better response, just instead of saying yes, just saying, let me think about it, or let me get back to you. Let me think about it. Like, let me take a beat and think about this and see if I can, whatever. If it's like, do you want to come out with us tonight? Or do you want to handle this project or whatever? I sometimes, even with patients, like when I'm doing an evaluation of a patient that I've just met, and they're asking me a lot of questions, and I get real performance anxiety, and I get real nervous, and I'm like, I forgot everything about physical therapy. I don't know. What is a neck, So I'm just like, let me go. I have to go to the bathroom, or like, let me go print out some information for you. And I like step away, and I'm just like, have to like be with myself and like think. Because when I'm looking at someone, like I'm thinking about, how am I being perceived right now? How, like, what are they thinking about me? Like, how am I doing the right things with my face? Like, literally, these are the things going through my head. So I don't have, like, the mental capacity to, like, make decisions sometimes in the moment, like, rational decisions. So I just have to step away and, like, be with myself sometimes. And then I can think through, like, what is it that they were explaining to me, And same thing with, like, plans. It's, like, what were they actually asking of me? And, like, do I actually have the capacity to do that? And then I'll get back to them later. But yeah, if your gut reaction is just to say yes because you're deer in the headlights nervous, just start saying maybe, or saying like, I'll get back to you, or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did that. I don't know why I had never even like considered that concept. That I think that's such phenomenal advice. Like,
I got one right.
Yeah, to be honest, like that is such great advice. Because that's something you can immediately respond with.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that you can then be like, all right, let's lock in. Let's get it together. And that person's not like in front of you for the people who are afraid of situations. Not afraid, but like who are intimidated by those like kind of situations.
Yeah, like stage fright and situations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the gut reaction is just to say yes. Maybe let's just like write a little note on the mirror or something that says like, I will not say yes today.
Yeah.
I will say maybe, Yes, not maybe. Let's get it tattooed on.
Yeah. What's funny is...
Or maybe not yes.
Maybe not yes.
Yeah.
And now for something completely different.
I do think like birth order has a lot to do with personality. Like the eldest child, I feel like takes on like a lot more leadership and like a lot of responsibility on themselves. And I definitely think it has a lot to do with personality, which I was the only one, so I don't really fall anywhere in an order. But I did spend a lot of time with adults. Like my parents were older when I was born. My dad was 40 and my mom was like 37 or 38 when I was born. So I spent a lot of time with older people and their friends kids were already grown, basically. You know, my friends' kids were teenagers when I was a kid. So I spent a lot of time around adults and like older people. You know, Aaron has a bajillion siblings as well, you know, and he's the middle child of like the original three bunch of them. And I do feel like that kind of having a ton
He's a middle child?
Yeah.
I didn't know he had an older. Oh, he's got an older
brother.
sister.
Older brother and younger sister. Yeah. So him being middle, you know, I kind of feel like that contributed to like, I don't know, having people in your personal space all the time, like having family and kids and like having to be flexible, you know. For me, I feel like I was just like, that may have contributed to my introvertedness and my needing to like be away from people to recharge, because I was away from people a lot. Like it was just my parents, like me and my parents. So I don't know, maybe that contributed to me having like my little unit, like my little inner unit that I'm comfortable with, and like I need to be with myself and my unit. You know, I grew up like playing by myself, like playing with my dolls and toys and stuff by myself, because I didn't have anybody to play with. I lived in a neighborhood of old people, so.
You feel like that with your mom being very extroverted? Mm-hmm. Do you feel like being the only child like kind of naturally inclined you to be introverted?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like if I had other siblings, I feel like I might have turned out maybe a little bit more introverted, like having to have siblings and their friends and stuff and like other people around all the time. Because I do feel like I'm very much like, my home is like my sanctuary. Nobody enters my home except for like me. Like it is my sanctuary. So if I had like a bunch of other kids and like their friends like tromping around the house all the time, like I might feel different about my home being like quiet sanctuary boundaries. I don't know. It can also go the other way, where like having a bunch of siblings, like being an adult, you like value their quiet and privacy. So I don't know that it has any bearing on my personality at all. I was just born like this. I don't know. Who knows?
Any myths about being an only child?
I don't know. Well, being spoiled. People always say that like, oh, you're an only child, you must be spoiled. And like, I don't know. I don't feel like I was spoiled, really. I mean,
are your parents still together?
No.
Yeah.
No, they divorced when I was like 13.
Okay.
So I feel like that definitely had a lot to do with it. Like maybe when I was like young growing up, like I did have a lot of attention and like, you know, I got whatever I wanted because they didn't have anybody to split the money with, you know, like there's just like one toy instead of buying toys for the like all the kids, you know. So people always like growing up, they're like, oh, you're an only child. Well, that makes sense. I'm like, what mean, Johnny? But yeah, I feel like that is kind of a myth of like being spoiled, having your blank down, like don't, you know, being particular, I guess, because like you grew up having it your way. That might still be true.
That was the following question of like, are there any truths to any of the myths specifically for you? And it sounds like the boundaries one, maybe.
Yeah, maybe so. Like being very particular with my space and my time and my things. Yeah, just being particular because I never had anyone taking my stuff or like my time or my space. It was just me. So that's probably true. Mm-hmm. I really don't think I was spoiled though. I mean, after my parents divorced, got kind of like tough for me and my mom. So that would definitely was not. We were not spoiled after that.
I was gonna say I wouldn't necessarily say that there's like the traditional like sense of spoiled is having to deal with that. Mm-hmm. What is you've shared a story about this in the past? What is like you being particular with your space look like in your marriage, especially with someone as extroverted as Aaron is?
So when Aaron goes on trips, like for work and stuff, it's the cleanest and most peaceful that my house ever is, because Aaron is like a tornado. It's like he comes into the house throwing things, you know, he's throwing his keys wherever he is, he's throwing his shoes wherever they land, he's throwing his shoes on the couch, the hat, literally he just comes in throwing shit everywhere. It's literally like Tasmanian devil in a man form. It does drive me a little bit insane. At night sometimes we do like what do I call it? I started doing this thing I saw on TikTok. The closing shift. We're doing the closing shift. Okay. So like we even like Aaron, I'm like, we're gonna do a few minutes of a closing shift. We're like getting the house ready to go to sleep. Okay. We're getting stuff off of the counters. We're putting stuff back. We're putting our shoes where they belong. We're putting our keys in the key bowl. Okay. We're like putting the dishes away, whatever. And like it doesn't happen every single night. Like sometimes we're just too busy. We get home too late. We're tired, whatever. But like most of the time we're like 10 minutes, like 5 minutes maybe. We're just like putting everything back where it belongs. And it really doesn't take that long. And I don't mean to say that like I want him to be like gone on a work trip or something, but like when he's gone, the house is like spotless because I put everything back where it goes. Like I use something and it goes back where it belongs usually, or like I use the blanket and I fold it back up and put it on the couch, you know. And when he's there, it's just like tools and shoes and towels and keys, and it's everywhere. But it's fine. I love him. So
I was gonna say, yeah, if you listen to that like at the surface level, you could be like, "Man, mirrors your shoes," and blah blah blah. But like, I don't think anyone listening, the 12 people listening to this, I don't think they're gonna pick up on that. They're gonna like, yeah, I totally understand.
It's literally just roommate issues. Like, it's not marriage issues. It's roommate issues. Yeah. Like, and we joke about them and we talk about them. Like, I'm like, if you don't get your motherfucking shoes off the fucking couch, we're about to throw hands. But it's mostly just joking. Like, it's not that deep.
No.
Like, it's literally just, like I said, roommate issues. A lot of people say, I like see it on the internet or whatever, that like the first year of marriage is the hardest. But like, I personally feel like the first year of living together is the hardest. And we lived together before we got married. So figuring out those like roommate issues is the hardest part. And like figuring out how your quirks merge with someone else's quirks. And, like, for people that don't live together until they get married, like, yeah, the first year of marriage is probably to be the hardest because it's your first year of cohabitating and, like, resolving your mutual weirdness with someone else. You know, I think our first year of living together was the hardest because, like I said, we had to figure out, like, space, like, merging our spaces. The first year of marriage hasn't been hard. We've been married for a year and a half.
Yeah, you guys are, like, I mean, both very just, like, understanding and, like, chill people, so I don't really see there being a lot of friction, like, in your day-to-day.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Now, after we saw, like, roommate issues, like I said, was the contributing factor for a lot of friction. Not that we had a lot of friction, but it was the contributing factor for a lot of friction that we did have. Was just, like, Aaron is very particular about his things, and I'm very particular about my things. So we both have our little quirks about, like, cleanliness, and, like, resolving that was just what we had to figure out. But something that he said the other day was kind of funny because I got mad at him about something. I can't even remember what it was. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is a funny story. You might let this out. It's just stupid. It's a funny story, though. I had a Target bag that we had gone, it stopped at the store on the way back from Bonifay. And I had a Target bag of, like, it was a bathing suit and, like, a swim cover-up. And we were getting out of the car, coming in the house. And I was like, hey, can you grab that Target bag out of the back? I've got, like, stuff in my hand, like cuts and stuff in my hand. And so he grabs the Target bag. We come inside. He puts it, like, in the kitchen chair. And the next day, I grab my Target bag. I'm going to go try on my clothes. So I go to the bathroom, and I, like, take out the swim cover up, and I, like, just, like, toss the bag, because it has a bathing suit in it. Like, toss the bag onto the floor. I did not realize that my sentimental ceramic coffee mug had been placed into the bottom of the bag underneath the clothes. Okay? Mug meet tile floor. Okay? Shattered. And he was not at home. And I texted him. He was like, oopsie, sorry. Maybe you should have checked in the bag before you threw it on the floor. And I was like, you. And I kind of got mad at him about that. And he came home and he was just like, why are you mad? I was like, because you weren't upset. Like, you weren't sad. You weren't like apologetic about it. You were just like, all right, well, sorry about it. Get over it. And the point of that whole story was that he was like, I don't even get mad at you anymore because I know I'm just going to forgive you and get over it. So I'm just disappointed now. Like, I don't get mad at you. I just get disappointed. And that's basically it. It's like, we know that we're going to work through whatever we're mad about. So, like, we really don't even get mad at each other anymore. We're just like, I'm really disappointed and you need to correct this behavior, but let's move on. And we're going to be happy and we're going to be fine and we're going to move past it. So we don't really get like,
that's actually like super powerful. Like the fact that you guys navigate, because there will be friction, right? Like
motherfucker broke my mug.
Yeah, exactly. Like in life, in relationships, like there will be friction.
Yeah.
But the fact that, because again, knowing both of you and knowing how like just chill you guys are, I suspected that is how it is.
Yeah.
But just hearing that from your mouth is like, that's insane. Like the fact that you're just like, whatever. Like
we're gonna get over it and we're gonna love each other anyways. So
yeah.
It's no big deal. I'm just very disappointed that my mug was broken.
That would be very hard. But I'm like the most sentimental person in the world.
It was a mug that I got for my birthday 6 years ago.
Oh,
from the Biltmore House in Asheville, North Carolina. R.I.P.
R.I.P. We talked about a lot of phenomenal things in this episode, like specifically with you being a DPT, you know, prioritizing your physical health and then prioritizing your mental health as well. Like for people who feel guilty prioritizing either one of those.
I think the boundaries part, and I think taking time to focus on your physical health and your mental health outside of your work or your responsibilities. I feel like that is a responsibility to yourself. And I feel like it all comes back to you can't pour out of an empty cup. And this is something that I see a lot with moms, especially like mom guilt, like taking the time out of like being with your kids and like doing stuff that you feel if you're a mom, I'm not a mom. I feel like you feel like there's something you could always be doing rather than doing something for yourself. Like you would always be doing something for someone else. And you, like I said, you cannot pour out of an empty cup. And I don't really know this from mom experience, but you cannot pour from an empty cup. And when you have nothing left to give, like you're hurting them, like you're hurting your family, you're hurting your job because you're not doing the best job performance that you can do. So you're really just like shooting yourself in the foot because you're not giving your all to anything because you're not full, right? So like taking that time may feel right now like it's cutting from somewhere else, but it's really filling you up so you can get more of yourself. So avoid that.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Sums it up.
And reading books is the way to do it.
Yes.
Yes.
Read books. Be smart. Books are political.
You want to plug your Booksta or book talk? Excuse me.
Yeah, sure. Booksta too. My Booksta and my book talk are at Kate Reads Books. KateReeds Books. Kate Reads Books on both platforms. Be prepared for weirdness on TikTok, and on Instagram it's just pretty pictures. So yeah. That's it.
Top number 2 and then 3 book.
Okay, I thought about this. Okay, you said fiction books.
Yes.
Okay.
What was number 1? Top 3 books, and then we'll just like make that the cut.
Okay, so the number 1 book, the like 5-star, 6-star out of 5 stars that I always go back to it's the 5th book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. Have you heard of the series Akatar? Okay. Somebody out there's heard of this. Jordan, I know.
Jordan, yeah.
So it's called A Court of Silver Flames. It's the 5th book in the series, and it is a story from a perspective of the sister of the main character of the first 4 books. So it's like new character, new main characters, whole new thing. It's a romance, fairies and stuff, whatever. So that's my number 1 book. It's what I compare every book to, but it's just so powerful. It's like a female main character who is less likable. She's more like kind of an asshole. Like she's like more rough and like she's working through some trauma and stuff, whatever. But she finds like her purpose in like these women, they're Valkyries or whatever is what they call themselves in this little group. And it's these other women who like don't have a place. And it's like a group of 3 women and they're fighting bad guys. But yeah, so it's just like a very powerful story of like female empowerment. There's also romance and love and sex and stuff. But the second book I would say that I read recently was called Empire of Shadows. And it's very much like adventure romance. Like it's like The Mummy meets Indiana Jones, and it's so good. It's so good. So that's my second book. And my third book that I've read, Phantasma, is another of my favorite books that I read this year. Phantasma is a really cool book. It came out this year. It takes place in New Orleans, and it's sort of a paranormal situation where the girl has like this inherited magic from her family. It's like a necromancy magic, so she could talk to like ghosts, dead people. And her mother like was a necromancer or whatever. People would come and pay for her to like talk to their dead relatives. So this woman like inherits this gift of necromancy, and she enters this game called Phantasma, which is run by like demons and ghosts and paranormal creatures or whatever. And if you get to the end of Phantasma, you get like 1 wish that the like demon who runs it or whatever will give you like 1 wish. Will grant you 1 wish. So she enters the Phantasma contest to get her 1 wish. So it's very interesting.
I want to ask the 1 wish, but I don't want to run it.
Well, so her goal going in was her sister had entered the competition because their manor was being taken by the bank because their mother had died, and she had apparently taken out some loans on their house, and they thought they were inheriting the manor. Turns out she was upside down on the house, and the bank was going to take their like big house that they owned. And this was like late 1800s New Orleans. So her sister entered so she could save their house, and the girl, main character, entered just to save her sister from dying in this like Phantasma competition house. So yeah, that's what you got at the end, and yeah, it's a twist. It's a twist at the end. I can't reveal the ending. It's a twist. You got to read it. It's pretty cool. There's lots of dirty ghost sex. So. That's the best part.
Jordan's like,
Yes. Anyways.
do you have anything else for the audience?
Yeah, don't be afraid to say no. Stand up for yourself. Have boundaries and respect them, because respecting your boundaries is self-care. Follow me on Bookshop.
That was such a perfect way to end that.